Welcome back to Brian Knows Movies. This week, I want to talk about Strange World. Now, since it's past the opening weekend, I also want to talk a little bit about what happened this opening weekend and why Strange World didn't perform the way that Disney was hoping and expecting for it to perform. But first, let's talk about the film. What is Strange World? What is it about? Well, it's about a strange world, specifically Avalonia, the land that is surrounded by mountains and is basically in this pre-electricity type of community. There is a very famous family of explorers, the Quaid family. Jaeger Quaid, who is the patriarch of the family and is voiced by Dennis Quaid, and his son Searcher Quaid, who is voiced by Jake Gyllenhaal, the reluctant son who basically goes on these expeditions with his father just because he's expected to. Anyway, there's an expedition that's trying to get over mountains that have never been traveled over before. They're trying to find something that's going to elevate Avalonia to the next level. Well, on the way, they find this little plant that's made out of electricity. This green little plant that they eventually named Pando. And Searcher thinks that this is enough. They can go back home and try to study this plant to see if it can help Avalonia. Of course, the big boisterous Jaeger Quaid, he's the explorer, he's the Teddy Roosevelt type, he's a Lewis and Clark type. He wants to keep going. Doesn't have time for no little plants. Father and son, they get into it, and the expedition team actually ends up siding with Searcher. So Jaeger, he's mad, he's upset. He goes on his own to try to get over this mountain, and guess what? You don't see him again. He's gone. 25 years passed since the father and son split. And Searcher was right. Avalonia is completely transformed by Pando. They have electricity, they have technology. The world is just a lot easier for them to live in. So Searcher, he's now a farmer. He farms Pando. He's married to Meridian. He has a teenage son named Ethan, and they have their own Pando farm. Now, Ethan is your typical high school boy. He has his own interests, his own desires, his own friends, his own crushes, and he just wants to be not embarrassed by his parents. There is an issue with the Pando. The Pando is losing power. It's not as strong. It's sick. Believe it or not, Callisto, who used to be on Searcher's expedition team with Jaeger and is now the current president of all of Avalonia, shows up at Searcher's house and recruits him to go on the expedition to the center of the earth to look for the root system where the Pando starts and try to figure out what is hurting the Pando. I'm not really sure why the president just doesn't send somebody else. If you're the president of all the land, that doesn't make sense. But hey, it's a kid's movie, whatever. Searcher's reluctant. He wasn't really into the expedition stuff to begin with, but he wants to save his farm. He wants to save his family. So he agrees to go on it. And basically that's what it is. You have an adventure trying to figure out what's going on with Pando. Of course, you can already guess that Ethan stows away on board. Meridian, who's trying to save Ethan from the expedition, ends up getting stuck on the expedition herself. So you have this family traveling with his expedition team to figure out what's going on with Pando. So let's talk about the writing and directing. There's some things that they do well. There's some things that are a little bit uninspired. Specifically, it's a story that we've heard so many times. It's the lack of communication between father and son. This time, it's 3 generations of father and son. The father wants the son to go along on their footsteps and be proud of the work that they do, and the son wants to do their own thing. The communication isn't there, and there is friction there. When I was a kid, it was the same thing that happened in a Goofy movie. Finding Nemo has a similar story, and on and on and on. You see it in Disney a lot. You see it outside of Disney a lot. So we've been here before. It's done effectively well. The writing's good. You like the relationships, at least how they grow, but it's kind of, okay, I've seen this before. What else do you got for me? But what I think that Strange World does that is unique and innovative and inventive is that they push the envelope in normalizing the experiences and cultural dynamics and identities of people. Specifically, this son is gay. And not just like hinted at gay like you see in some other films even now, but straight on, hey, I have a crush. How do I deal with it? He's having healthy conversations about this with his parents. It's actually a normalized identity. Disney specifically has been pushing towards this, pushing the envelope on this, and this is the most normalized I've seen LGBTQ members be in an animated movie coming from Disney. The other thing is you have an interracial couple between Meridian and Searcher, so you have the biracial aspect of Ethan being normalized as well. It's not made a big deal. Hey, my mother is black and my father is white. So what? You even have the dog Legend, who only has 3 legs. So he's living with a disability, but he's still able to do all the things normal dogs would do. In fact, he's pretty lovable, and you don't even really notice that he's missing a leg. And so the ability to normalize those things, very well done. A lot of times, the voice actors are just themselves. I think about Moana specifically, and Dwayne Johnson in that film. He's just voicing Dwayne Johnson. Or DC League of Super Pets this year. Kevin Hart and specifically Dwayne Johnson. He just sounds like Dwayne Johnson. And that kind of takes you out of it because, like, I want to believe that this is a unique, novel character. Maybe a voice actor would have been better. But Jake Gyllenhaal as Searcher. Dennis Quaid as Jaeger. Oh my goodness. Great voice work done there. Meridian, Gabrielle Union's character. I didn't even know that was Gabrielle Union until much later in the film where I kind of put two and two together. You want some people to disappear into these roles. And they do that really well. I also want to shout out Jaboukie Young White, who's probably the only voice actor. That's what he's known for mostly. Voicing Ethan, he does a great job in this film as well. And Lucy Liu isn't really recognizable as Callisto, the president. So everybody did a really good job of, putting their flair on it, trying something unique and different with their voice, keeping that voice consistent throughout the film. Kudos to them. The production value of this film is top notch. It's not just the animation, but also the inventiveness of what they have. The creatures that are inside of the center of the earth that are blooming with life and are just so unique. You've never thought you would see a hill walk and trees rain down live little bugs or whatever you want to call them. It's just so cool to see what they do with this film. Also, the sense of wonder is even heightened more by the score. You actually feel like you're on an adventure. The score just reminds you of Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark and National Treasure and all these films that are these big adventure films. Kudos and wonderfully done. Anyway, what's my rating? See it, stream it, or skip it. I'm giving it a see it. I think that it was good. It wasn't great because it wasn't, I don't think, creative enough in terms of the storylines, but there's enough there to keep you going. The voice acting's great. It looks beautiful. The score is great. This is a really good movie. I think that people should see it in the theaters. Now, why are people not seeing it in the theaters? When I went to the theater, it was on a Sunday morning, 10 a.m., prime time for kids to be around. I thought I was going to be in a theater full of kids and their parents and their grandparents singing Strange World, the next big Disney animated film. But I was the only one in this theater, and I'm in a major U.S. city. My movie gets out the same time as Black Panther gets out, and the kids that I think would understand the story and will be drawn to Strange World, your 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, they're all leaving Black Panther. So you have Marvel still having this chokehold on the world, and Black Panther deserves it. I think that Black Panther is a little bit more mature for these kids, but hey, they want to see superheroes and superpowers, and they get some of these things. I understand it. I don't think there's anything wrong with people taking their kids to see Black Panther over Strange World. There are just so many things that are pulling for attention Thanksgiving weekend that I think Strange World kind of got crowded out, really. Strange World didn't really do itself any favors in terms of promoting. I barely saw any promotions for this film. I saw promotions earlier on, and I didn't know what it was about, but it looked cool, it sounded cool, but they never came out with trailers that really enticed you or really made you understand what was even going on in this story. And to be honest with you, this would have been kind of hard to explain in terms of plot points in a 2-minute trailer, especially a trailer that's supposed to go towards kids. So I didn't really see much on Disney Plus promoting this film. I didn't see anything on YouTube promoting this film. None of my suggested views were around Strange World, and I'm a movie critic, and a lot of my things that come through are movie trailers, right? So it was really weird that they didn't really pump more money into the promotion of this film because it cost so much to make. But I think the main reason why Strange World is going to possibly lose $147 million by the time it leaves the theaters is because of a lot of that social commentary I talked about earlier. We're living in a very divided world, and there's a lot of families that are just not comfortable having their kids watch things with LGBTQ material, specifically things that are so blatantly pro-LGBTQ. In fact, Disney World is in Florida. Florida has right now in law a Don't Say Gay bill that affects the teaching or even the discussion of LGBTQ plus issues in the school system there. And you see that all throughout the South. I'm in the Midwest. You see similar type of beliefs in the Midwest. Having an outwardly gay teenager literally crushing over someone that you see on film, I don't think a lot of parents are going to go for that. And once that cat's out the bag, and I think it is already based off some of the comments I see, that's not going to fly for a lot of families. And you're going to lose a huge part of the country in terms of pull for this film, as well as internationally too. I think that it's sad. I'm so happy that Disney is being so progressive in terms of trying to normalize these types of relationships in their features. Kudos to them, because they must have known that they're going to lose money doing this. But that's why. And don't even get me started on some of the environmental climate change type of elements to this, and then some of the other progressive issues that I talked about earlier. I just don't think a lot of the American heartland or the South is going to be for this, and that means you're going to lose a lot of eyes that you normally would have had. They'll probably still just go see Wow Crocodile for the 18th time, I suppose. But anyway, what I know, I'm just a guy that loves movies. So, what do you think? Why is Strange World doing so bad? Have you seen it? I hope that everybody's wrong and it does start to pick up some steam over the next couple of weeks. But if not, I see this going the way of a Treasure Planet or those types of film, Fern Gully, where they become kind of these cult classics later on down the road that you find on Disney Plus. And people, even Encanto didn't really make a lot of money in theaters based off of how much it blew up in terms of the zeitgeist of our culture. That happened when it got on Disney Plus for the most part. So maybe it'll be one of those films. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. Especially subscribe, because the more subscribers I have, the better I am going to be able to give you more content and to continue to do this for you. So subscribe. Thank you so much, and I'll see you at the theaters next week.